my article today is California lawmakers vote to decriminalize psychedelics and move forward with cannabis cafes. A Sacramento legislative bill aimed at decriminalizing plant-based psychedelics, including mushrooms, received final approval on the Senate floor Tuesday and Thursday and is now on its way to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk, according to officials. SB 58, introduced by California Senators Scott Wiener, Ash Kalra, and several others, passed 21-3 with 16 abstaining on the Assembly floor Thursday. They are not a panacea. This is not a silver bullet, but there are plenty of people who have literally been able to turn their lives around because of psychedelics, said Wiener. Wiener has been championing the bill for several years. He believes everyone from combat veterans with PTSD to those who suffer from disorders like anxiety and depression could benefit. Wiener said 13 of his bills were introduced during this assembly session, with 4 already passed to the Senate for a final sign-off. Quote, "We are now one step closer to making our shared values a reality. These bills will streamline housing approvals, address the climate crisis, cap the out-of-pocket costs of insulin, expand access to PrEP, protect LGBTQ, foster youth, decriminalize psychedelics, support small businesses, and more," he said in a statement. Several pieces of drug legislation have made their way through the state capitol on Thursday. Quote, "The tide has turned and shifted dramatically on these issues in California. Support for decriminalization of substances and a full legalization of cannabis is overwhelming now," unquote, said State Senator Matt Harvey. Harvey supported Wiener's legislation and is also advocating for his own. Oh, that's embarrassing. Harney introduced a bill that would allow certain cannabis retailers to sell food and beverages. The idea behind it would be to create cannabis cafes similar to those like the ones in place in Amsterdam. The state Senate passed Harney's bill in an overwhelming margin. It now needs one more vote before heading to the governor. California should be a destination for cannabis, just like it is for wine. I agree. And one of the things that is holding us back from that right now is we can't really offer a cannabis experience that is legal, that is safe, that is regulated. While both proposals have gotten support from lawmakers, some in the public still have concerns, but Wiener believes they can work together to find solutions that work for everyone. Any substance can be misused. Any substance can impact someone negatively. That's true of substances that are legal, he said. Because for him, this is only the beginning. The step we're taking, and hopefully we'll take if the governor signs a bill, is step number 1 in this process, and we have a lot more work to do, Wiener said. This is Yarrow Kubrin for High at 9 News.
Yeah, no,
another Wiener making moves.
Mm-hmm. No, this bill is a big deal. I know a lot of the consumption lounges are really, really in desperate need of this. So then that way they actually have some type of a business model. So then that way they can actually open and operate, because you can't just operate a standalone consumption lounge with just selling product there. It has to operate as a restaurant in order to survive.
I just like to note the connection of Representative Wiener and the pulsating phallic mushroom behind your head during you reading your story.
That is a throbbing accusation, and I am ready to discharge my dissatisfaction
with your spores.
Imagery affiliation. Look, here's what I think, guys. I think that when we talk about plant medicine, it would not be fair and accurate to lump in cannabis with psychedelics. And I think that, while I'm committed to both of them being an age-restricted products, no one has ever jumped off a cliff because they took a heroic dose of OG Kush. But I did watch somebody die who was on psychedelics at a concert because they did decide to jump off a cliff into the water and they didn't make it in the way they intended. So I think that, it's important to not underestimate the risks to psychedelics that are not in a clinical setting or a therapeutic environment or microdosed. And that being said, this notion of opening up regulations that allow for consumption lounges or increased sales of foods and beverages at places that sell cannabis, all it's doing is aligning the laws with human behavior. And I think that's really important. And I think that tourism is really important for California. And this is a great place to come. If you don't live in California and you are on some other part of the world right now and you are listening to High at Nine News, come eat our Dungeness crab, drink our Russian River Valley AVA Pinot, smoke our amazing cannabis, enjoy the fruits of the world, because we really live in some version of paradise. There's a reason why the majority of the nation's food is created in the Central Valley in California. And so I think that really wrapping our arms around how humans want to interact with cannabis anyway is really important and will be helpful for the regulated industry.
Indeed.
You have any thoughts on this real quick, Dr. Mark?
Well, I love Yarrow's jib. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand the California centric kind of thinking. My son lives in LA, and yeah, everything seems to be bigger and better, and everything's, but even like here in Vermont, like as you were talking about, your Pinots, and what do we have in Vermont? We have maple syrup, and we
Snow,
have
lots of snow.
cheese, and we have snow, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, again, there's kind of like, that's what the great thing about cannabis to me is the terroir noir, the unique strains that have basically permeated the cultures that have been here. People have been growing weed up in the Northeast Kingdom as long as they've been growing in Humboldt. So I mean, there's yeah, the whole issue about Schedule 3. Everyone's talking about Schedule 3. You guys have covered this to death here on High at Nine. That would end the industry as we know it. Does anyone get their weed from a Schedule 3 dispensary? Is this even thing that exists?
There's no such thing.
So no such thing. So what we need to do is just move to deschedule. Deschedule will also fix banking. Banking is just a big boondoggle. Just deschedule, and that fixes banking.
Yep.
So so many things would benefit from, and especially the artisan quality of cannabis production that was key to the Triangle and key to the Northeast Kingdom and key to the OGs in upstate New York and down in the city. I mean, where the home of sour diesel, and where the East Coast kind of vibe for the reason why people were sour is because there wasn't enough diesel to go around, right? I
Yep.
mean, and to me, it's like LA certainly captures that, and certainly there's other, Denver's a great place, great weed culture in Denver. I think it's all over, Yarrow. I'd like to say it permeates our culture, just like the music of the Grateful Dead.
Oh boy.